What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're looking at the top trade targets for the week. So if you guys aren't sure which trades to make, settle in and grab your popcorn out and whatnot, because we're going to find out exactly who to bring in this week. So we're going to be doing it by break even and just kind of like the eye test. So the first guy obviously we have to talk about is Alex Cincotta. If we're going off who's the most traded in, it's obviously Cincotta. So I'm just going to move the camera out the way so you guys can see there. Now, Cincotta's got probably the best job security out of all the rookies. Obviously, he's cheap as well, so worst case scenario, we can just use him as a loop. But yeah, Cincotta's one that you just pretty much have to bring in purely based on break even. If we filter by break even right here, he's got a negative 97. So I think he only needs to score about 50 points and he'll go up like so 42 and he goes up like 63k. So if he goes 80 again, he probably goes up like 90k. So Cincotta, a no-brainer. The next guy we're going to talk about is Sam Simpson. Now, I don't love this guy's job security, but I can see if people are desperate, obviously being a forward at Geelong, like it makes sense. You know, he will probably naturally get a few points, but 58 in a blowout win is not ideal. And I think he may be 1 or 2 games away from getting dropped, and also sub-risk as well. So not happy about that. But yeah, Simpson's one, you probably just have to, like, if you absolutely need a downgrade target, then go for him. He's an awkward price. I think if he was 120, that'd be huge. Like, everyone would jump on him, no-brainer, or 102 especially. But as a 166k, it's kind of a bit sketchy, I think. So I'm probably going to try and stay away from someone like a Sam Simpson. Next, I'll talk about Ryan Angwin. So apparently he's a Callum Ward replacement. So as soon as Ward's back, I think he gets dropped. So teams will be very interesting this week because that will determine which rookies to bring in. And obviously, like, we need some rookies, because I wouldn't say the cash gen's dead, because we still could have some rookies. Like, Cincotta could make 200k. And I've got a fair bit of cash gen in my team. I've still got Radicalia, a couple of others as well. So I'm not too worried about finishing my side. But if you didn't jump on someone like a Chandler, then you might be in a bit of strife, I think. So yeah, anyway, don't worry too much about cash gen yet, because I think the rookies will come. It just means we might have to take a little bit longer to upgrade and finish our team. Another thing is we need to work out the buy structure. So we're going to talk about buys at the end, but yeah, I think try and stay away from the first and the last buy is the general consensus. Talk about some Premos in a second, but any other rookies bringing in here? Not really anyone. So Corey Wagner's another one where if he can play this week, that would be low-key huge. 117k defender mid. Obviously, he's got a DPP, he's got a negative 36 break-evens, projected to make 44k off a 61 score. So that's really nice. If Wagner gets named, that's really, really good. I think he has to come in just based on break-even. So fingers crossed Wagner gets in, but yeah, it doesn't look likely at this point. Let's talk about some Premos. We'll talk about one more guy, and that's Bryn Teakle. So this is one that's really a bit confusing, because I really like the idea of a sole ruck. If we knew he was going to be sole ruck for the next 5 weeks, he'd be a no-brainer pick. Question is, Ken Hinkley, we know he's not very trustworthy, and also he didn't play very well, Teakle. I mean, he got absolutely manhandled by Rowan Marshall. So he's one that I'm not too sure about, to be honest. If he's named as the only ruck this week after the bad game last week, then maybe you have to bring him in if you have someone like a Radicalia. If you have a Madden and you have to actually spend money, you don't make any money doing that, then I probably would have to miss out on him. And fingers crossed Madden actually does play, because I heard he's tracking well or something. So Madden might actually come in. So he might be a really good downgrade target. But yeah, I think if you have someone like Radicalia or someone you could swing in via forward DPP or something like that, then maybe you would do that. But otherwise, you know, it's probably not the best trade-in target. Like, he's going to go up 41k if he scores 60. So it's a good break even, but what can he really get to? If he's sole ruck the whole time, I think he can probably average in the 80s, which would make a lot of money. But I think, yeah, he's one bad game off either getting dropped or them just playing like a Finlayson and Dixon hybrid ruck combo, which would be really annoying for Teakle owners. So yeah, we're treading really finely with these rookies. It's so frustrating, because it's not so much they're not going to make money. It's more just the fact that they've got no bloody job security. So one more guy I'll talk about is Dylan Williams. So some people are bringing him in. Now, on my second account, I got very, very lucky because I actually brought him in. I went early on him. And God, it was a fluke move, because yeah, like, I just couldn't believe how lucky I got with that. I've actually got him, and he's got a really nice role. He's playing that halfback, that cheesy seagull kind of role. And this team's actually looking quite good. I've only got the 17 trades left, which you can't quite see. But like, yeah, I actually really like the look of this team. There's not really any flaws in it at this point. So bringing in Will Day this week, I think there's plenty of value there. But yeah, just sort of a muck around team, and it's sitting rank 1,488, so it's actually not bad. It's better than my main team, which is kind of sad. But yeah, we'll talk about Dylan Williams. So break even of -9. Do you bring him in now? I think he as well is one game off getting dropped, which I don't think we can go near someone like that. For the 200k, it's not worth it. You know, Sincotta's different because you're paying only 102k, you're paying bottom price. Whereas someone like a Dylan Williams, like we already know he has been used as a sub once. Why would he not get used as a sub twice? You know what I'm saying? So rookies are really tough this week, and next week's going to be even tougher. There's no one really that's that good. So hopefully someone can pump out like a ton or something this week that played last week, or debutant last week, like a Weddle or something. But yeah, looking unlikely. Let's talk about some Premos now. So the fun stuff. So the first guy I want to talk about is James Sicily. So if you're looking for value, I think he's the one where you probably have to jump on. Break even of 77. He's actually played quite well in his last few. 105 and 128, 91. 76 wasn't great. And then 112, 99, 111. So he's only really had the one bad game. And he's one I'm seriously considering, purely based on that low break even as a Premo, 77. He's going to hit that, you would think. And like, look at his last three. So you probably can't count these two, but like 116, 116, 114. Like it seems like he's a safe 110 to 115 average this year. It's just about, do you want to bring him in? Do you think he's a keeper? And I think he's very close to it. And he's one that I'm strongly considering. At the moment, I don't have him in, but I think he's one of the best upgrade targets, no doubt about it. Like one or two. Next guy I'll talk about is Jack Sinclair. I brought him in last week, so he's bottomed out. You would think 95 break even. Whoops. And he's just like, you know, he's just a stat pad. Hurt a little bit by his disposal efficiency last week. I think he only went at like 50%, but he's usually pretty clean with the ball. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. And yeah, just a solid average. He's been good. Like he's been very solid, like 105, 109, 90, 113 in his last four. So yeah, if you want to bring in Sinclair, I think he's pretty safe for a top 6 defender from here to the season's end. Next guy I'll talk about is Jack Steele. Now, I watched him very closely, obviously at the start because I started him. If you've been following my channel, I actually started with Jack Steele, and I didn't like what I saw at all, like at all. So he's one that I would be waiting another week on. I thought he played really, really well last week. I think he showed real intent tackling, and I hadn't seen that Steele in either of the practice matches or the first 2 games. So that kind of steal is a dangerous steal to not have. If you have him like getting 10 tackles a game and racking up the pill, obviously not the best by foot, which is a bit annoying, and he loves to handball. But if you can get him for like 520, which you possibly could, that might be an absolute. I was going to say a steal. That might be an absolute bargain, because obviously he's capable of averaging 126. Can he do it? Probably not. I don't think he's as good as he was back then. But yeah, I would be waiting one more week. But that being said, look what he did against North last time we played them. 154, and they do leak points quite heavily, as we saw with Petracca and Oliver. So there's plenty of upgrade targets. There's just not many downgrades this week. So I think if you jump on someone like a Steele, like he doesn't really get tagged, which is a good thing, I think. And you know he's capable of being that top 8 defender, top 8 midfielder. So yeah, he's one that's tempting me, but I just don't know if I jump on him this week. But I could. So don't be surprised if I do. I do love a last second trade. All right, now let's talk about some Ubers. So we'll talk about Clayton Oliver, and I think he's still a really good pick. 650 is probably about as low as he's going to get. He might get a 640, but unless he gets like a super hard tag, he's probably not going to drop much lower than that. I do think with Melbourne is if they do want to tag, if teams want to tag Melbourne, they're probably going to go to Clary now. I think it's sort of the general consensus with Melbourne is I think that Oliver's the more damaging one now, and I don't think Petracca's quite. I don't know. I think Oliver's better. I mean, obviously as a Supercoach he's better, but like I think teams are starting to work out how good Oliver is. So I think he might cop some attention, not every week, obviously, and he's still, but it's like for me that hasn't had him all year. Like, do I really want to bring him in right now? I know I'll have to finish with him, but I think, 140 break even probably can wait a week or two. I keep saying it and I should just grab him, but Yeah, he's still an obviously amazing pick. He's probably going to be M1, 2 or 3. I think he's about M2 right now. Bond's M1. So yeah, if you want to bring Clayton Oliver in, it's not a bad week, but I personally wouldn't mind grabbing some value at the moment, because I think, and I said in my last video, or in one of my last videos, that we should just grab the Ubers, but I think we can actually grab the potential Ubers that have gotten value. You know what I mean? Like, so grabbing something like a Brayshaw, I don't think he's going to be an Uber. And you got to remember, like, when we're bringing in a player, we're bringing him in from the week we bring, where we're focusing on their scores from the week we bring them in to the end of the season, not from the start of the season, because we've missed all those scores. Okay, we've missed those points, so don't worry about those points. Just because it has like a nice little average on the team doesn't mean you're going to get that average for the rest of the season. So I think that we have to keep that in mind. So someone like a Clary, we've already missed a lot of big scores, so it's, you know, break even 140. Yeah, I don't think you need to bring him in. Whereas Jack Steele, on the other hand, someone that could average just as much as Clary, he actually could. Like, if he gets fully fit again and plays like he did last week, every week, he could average as much as Clary, and he's 120k cheaper or 130k cheaper. So that's why I think we can actually jump on value or fallen Ubers instead of your value Premos like a Pendles or someone, or a DeGoey. I wouldn't grab someone like that. I would just be trying to focus on grabbing those Uber Premos that have dropped, and you know they can reach that top echelon of players. Next guy we'll talk about is Rory Laird. So Laird's one that I'll personally stay away from, but he is an absolute jet. I hope I actually sit him, like get his body right, so then we know once he comes back, he's okay, he's fully fit, ready to go. Because if you're someone that has him, it's all right because you've already got him and he's playing. But it's like, if you want to bring him in, which I do, because he's quite cheap for what he's capable of. It's like, do you really want to pick someone who has a faulty calf? It's not a good sign at all. So that's why I'm a bit worried about Rory Laird. And I think you just could grab. There's just plenty of other options at this point. There's no point taking a risk on someone who's half injured, I think, especially for 633k. As good as he is, and as untaggable as he is, I just think we can't quite grab him, but we have to keep him in our sights because he is M1 of last year. So, yeah, tricky situation with him, but I would steer clear for now, but he was worth talking about. Now, let's talk about some DPP potentials, and Sam Walsh is right up there to possibly get it round 12. He could get forward status, which would be huge, and I've already got him. I'm a bit pissed off because I brought him in. He had 80% CBAs last week. I think he went back down to like 40 or 30% this week, which is freaking annoying. Still managed to score okay, 117. Not the best captain score, which I had him as. But if he gets DPP, he's probably going to be F1 or F2 pretty comfortably, I would think. So he's one to consider. And if he doesn't get DPP, this is the same thing with the guy I'm about to talk about as well. If they don't get DPP right, they're either going to be playing a lot of midfield to the point where they can score heaps of points, or they're going to play that split where they get DPP. So it's kind of like a win-win situation. You can't really go wrong with it. So Walsh, I think, is one to consider. How's his run look? Well, it's not great. You know, Brisbane Bulldogs, Collingwood, it's quite tough, but we know he's capable of going 193 against Collingwood. So I don't think he needs to be like a flat track bully like some of the other Premos. But yeah, plenty of outside ball, which I love, and all the inside stuff is just a bonus. So I like the Walsh pick, and I think he'll be good, but I would just like him to have a bit more CBAs. But yeah, if you're picking him, you could get the forward status. And the next guy I'll talk about is Christian Petracca. Now, he's one where you probably have to jump on this week if you're going to jump on. Break even of 71. Playing Gold Coast, Hawthorn, and then Port, which he's known to go big against all of them. I don't think he gets attention personally. I think Drew will go to Oliver, and I think McGuinness, if McGuinness even plays, Connor Nash is the one that's tagging. Connor Nash might go to Oliver. I think that's a really good matchup for him. So, yeah, I think Track's one where he probably will get forward status. We sort of thought he was going to. We didn't really think he was going to get it in the first DPP changes, but he ended up just missing out, like absolutely just. So, I think Track's currently in my team, but I'm not so sure about it. You know, I'm really tempted by someone like a Sicily and someone like a Jack Steele. It's just like, you got to think, like, when there's such little to split between these players, you got to think, like, who do you want in your final team? Do you want Steele in the finals? You know, when everyone's full Premo, do you want to back in a guy like James Sicily? I think we can personally, but can we back in a Petracca with a relatively hard run? You know, I know it's not too bad. His finish isn't bad, but he does have Sydney in the last round, which is a little bit tricky. But yeah, it's actually not a bad run home, to be honest. So yeah, Track is an interesting one, and that's pretty much it for the Premos. Now, one guy I want to talk about is Zach Merritt. Now, I think he is a super pick after this week. and he's one that I'll be almost forcing into my team. Reason being, he plays Port, so he's probably going to cop the Will Drew tag. Now, he might get a bad score, which would mean we'd have to wait a couple of weeks till he really bottoms out. But after that, he's got Port one more time, which he might struggle with. But look at his run home. He's got West Coast North. Like, he's got 2 lots of West Coast and North in a row. Like, could you get a better run home? And like, look at how he finished last season, right? If you take out those tag games, his average was fucking huge. He got tagged in these 2 rounds, 71, 73, fair enough. But every other game, look, 111, 140, 147, 136, 133, 140, 150. This guy is capable of big scores. And I think the captaincy, I don't know why, but I just think when you're a captain, like, you can't afford to just get shut out of games like that. Now, he could get shut out of a game. Like, it's not really up to him. It's up to the tagger if they want to shut him down. But I think, yeah, he's got a bit more pride now as the skipper of the club, and they're actually playing quite well. So, yeah, I think Merritt's a really, really good pick and really, really underpriced. So keep an eye on him. He's as close to a must-have, I think, in the next few weeks as anyone. So let's talk about my trades. And like I said, I'm not sure. I've currently got Christian Petracca, but I do want to grab someone like a Sicily or a Steele, just because of their, like, Sicily, obviously the break-even. Steele, it's more of a fact that he plays North Melbourne, and he's a decent captain option, I think. But yeah, I think with Steele, like, I just want to say one more good week, because he did have that 50 last week with little CBAs, and he clearly looked a bit underdone. So yeah, is his body fully right? I'm not sure. It's a similar situation to Laird with the fitness, but he is 100k cheaper. But yeah, I think Track or Sicily, probably the ones I'm narrowing it down to at this point. Track could get off the leash over the next few weeks, which would really hurt. And if you don't have him as a VC option, it would be a bit of a pain, I think. Like, it shows like they can go huge, both Clary and Track. So Track still has that big ceiling in him. Obviously, he didn't look like it every other game, but yeah, I think he's one that I really want. And it just looks good. I think bringing in mid at this point, like I said in my other video, like, it's good to bring in mids because we've got so many players that could or could not get DPP. And I'd rather just keep a spot just for them, just in case, and upgrade the mids where you know they're like the set in stone ones where they're not really going to get any DPP. You know what I mean? Like, they're not going to, there's no forwards or defenders that are going to get mid DPP that'll be relevant enough. So you may as well just have them on the forward line and back line. But yeah, that's it for the video, guys. I think it's a big week of trading. I think we got to really nail this week. In terms of trades, I've got the 20. I'm keeping a boost, I think. I could drop a Radaglia to a Tickle. It's still something I'm thinking about, and it's something that I will probably do if if Lyset's not named and they're playing just one ruck again. So yeah, keep an eye on that. If you have Radaglia, it's a really good downgrade option, I think. Even if it's just a 2-week price rise, it's still okay. So yeah, that's it for the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, trying to hit that 1k subs, hopefully by the season's end. I think we can do it. But yeah, thanks for watching anyway, guys, and I'll see you next one.